Hi, my name is Scott Marlin. I'm actually doing this video for my CIS programming course. What I'm going to cover today are the main components of a desktop computer. So what I have here is an old Dell, and we're going to set it down. I'm going to show you all the components as I open it up. Alright? So the first thing, you want to set it down correctly. And by correctly, you generally want the motherboard on the bottom. If you look here, you can see all my ports are on this side, which is now the bottom that I've laid it down. So my ports, you've got your video here. This is an old fax or printer. We don't really use that anymore. You have your old mouse and keyboard. You've got your USB ports here and your Ethernet port. On the back we also, for these older computers, have our microphone, headphone, and line-in jacks. You don't really see those on the back anymore. A lot of times these are on the fronts or the sides closer to the front where they're more easily accessible. Alright. And to open it, on this computer we have these little tabs on the bottom, little safety buttons. You just push those in and get a little bit of distance in here. And this should just slide right on up. Alright, so here's the inside of the computer. One of the first things, once you've got a computer open, you want to touch the case, the inside of the case, bare metal, to ground yourself. You don't want any electric surge or current to go from you into any of these components. So you ground yourself, and then we'll continue from there. We're going to start here with the power supply. This basically takes the electricity from your wall and distributes all the current correctly to the components of the computer. From here, we're going to go ahead and move over to our RAM, since it's out here in the open. To release the RAM, we just push these clips down. The RAM will kind of shoot up on its own. It makes it really easy to get out. If it doesn't, you want to rock it kind of like a seesaw as you ease it out. You want to avoid going side to side this way because you'll break the connectors and it'll make your RAM pretty useless. So there's one stick of RAM. You want to be careful not to touch the gold plating here. The oils on your hand can corrode and damage and rust the connectors, again making your RAM pretty useless. So there's our stick of RAM. To insert it, it takes a little bit more force, but you want to make sure you get everything lined up properly. Once it's sitting in there pretty close, you just, again, seesaw a little bit of pressure back and forth until those clips come back up into their original position, and that's how you'll know that your RAM is inserted correctly. From our RAM, we're going to come over here. This is our heatsink. It draws the heat off of our processor, it's very important to keep our processor cool. If it overheats, it can cause malfunctions, it can cause damages, so we want to make sure that we have this properly installed over our processor. And so that processor down there is kind of the brains of the computer. It does most of what we think computers do. Okay. The heatsink sits directly on top. Usually there's a thermal paste that will help draw the heat away from the processor. It'll heat up the heatsink, which is cooled by the fan. So there's that airflow across it will help keep everything nice and cool. From here we're going to come down to our PCI slots. These slots here are usually used for like a video card or an audio card. They have developed Bluetooth cards, additional wireless cards for internet, and more recently for the PCI Express slots, they've actually developed a stick of hard drive basically that sits in the PCI slot, and it operates exactly like a hard drive. You can load an operating system onto it and run it off of that card. So there's going to be some really unique features coming out for these in the next couple of years, I imagine. So from the PCI slots here, we're going to move over to the other side, and I'm just going to turn the computer so you can see that we're going to be getting into our hard drive, our floppy drive, and our CD DVD drive. I'm going to go ahead and uncable it so I can pull them out and show you what we're working with here. These cables are sometimes really sticky, so it helps if you wiggle them kind of like you do the RAM, lengthwise, not side to side. These have easy disconnect mounts, so they'll just slide right out. And here's our hard drive. Be careful if you have any open components, don't touch them. Again, those oils on your fingers and your hands can damage these. So there's the basic form of what your hard drive is going to take. Not really left-handed, so this is kind of fun. Alright, I'll come back and cable that once we're done. So we're going to move up here to our floppy drive. Once we get it decabled, slide that out, And floppy drives, you never even see these on computers anymore. Modern computers don't use them. They're just old. The floppy drives themselves don't hold much data. So we've upgraded to bigger and better things, basically. One thing to note about the floppy drives is that they take a very interesting and unique Berg connector, which is this one right here. It has a very unique form. And so that's usually primarily for floppy drives. There we go. And last but not least, we have our DVD CD drive. This is actually a DVD read-write, so we can actually create DVDs and burn data to a DVD. So that's that. Pretty big, especially compared to that hard drive. A little bit dusty. Go ahead and get that put back in. Alright, I'll get all this cabled up in just a minute, but that basically covers all the primary components inside of your desktop computer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave me some comments.